Welcome to the September 16, 2019 meeting for the Gaston County Board of Education. I'm Brent Moore, Crowders Mountain Township and Chairman of the Board. And to my left is Kevin Collier, Vice Chairman, Riverbend Township. At this time, I would like to ask the other board members to introduce themselves.
Lee Edmond, Gastonia Township.
Justin Davis, South Point Township.
Terry Ustry, Cherryville Township.
Steve Hall, Dallas Township.
Dot Guthrie, Gastonia.
At-large member, Jeff Ramsey.
Dot Cherry, at-large member.
On behalf of the board, I would like to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. I hope our students, teachers, and parents and administrators have had a good start to the 2019-2020 school year. We have much to be proud of in each of our schools, and we appreciate your continued support for our communities. We have a full agenda tonight, so let's get started. Our first order of business is to have our prayer and pledge of allegiance. I'd like to ask Mr. Booker, Dr. Booker.
Thank you, Chairman Moore. Join me, please. Father God, we just thank you. We thank you for today, for the ability to rise and to serve you and to serve the students of this great community. Yeah. We just ask that you be with us tonight, Father God, and just guide us and guard us as we work to do your will among the people. Yes. We just praise you. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next order of business is to adopt the agenda. You have a proposed agenda before you. Do I hear it first? Mr. Ustry, second, Mr. Ramsey. Any discussion? All in favor? And it is carried. Our next order of business is to hear good news happening in our schools. Superintendent Booker, give us some good news.
Thank you. We have several great items to share with you tonight. We have a student from Sadler Elementary here. I'd like for Ms. Hendricks to come forward if she would, please. And Ms. Cherry's going to make her way down to greet you.
I've already done it once.
We are recognizing the proudest kid in Gaston County. She was awarded this after writing an essay about why she loves living in Gaston County. This is part of our partnership with Gaston Together, and this gives the winner a framed certificate and money towards a summer trip to Raleigh, where she met with Gaston County's legislative delegation. We're very proud of you, and we know that you have a bright future in our school system, and we just thank you for representing us so well. Ms. Cherry?
We're the proudest board members in Gaston County because we're so proud of you. We know you represented us very, very well in Raleigh. Did you have fun? You haven't gone yet? I didn't pay attention, did I, Mr. Woodward? I'm sorry, it's Monday, and it's been a long Monday. When are you going? Do you know? When is she going?
It's usually working in Harrington's office.
Okay. Well, when you go, will you come back and tell us about it? See, old people make a lot of mistakes. I'm sorry. But anyway, we're extremely proud of you. And on behalf of our board chair, Mr. Moore, and our superintendent, Mr. Booker, we have a certificate for you to take home. Okay? Okay. Now we can take pictures. Dad, do you want to come and get in the picture? Does he know? No.
Dad comes on us. Just get a little bit to the left. Old people do make a lot of
mistakes. Yes, we do, don't we? Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Will you go show us?
Yeah.
Gotta go up from here, so.
Congratulations.
I'll see you soon, exactly.
We have another elementary student I would like to bring forward. Ms. Lineberger, please. Emma is a fifth grader at Rankin Elementary, and she created a community service project to ensure that students who needed supplies were prepared for the start of school. She is a part of the school safety patrol, and she started Emma's Backpack Project with the goal of filling new book bags and grade level appropriate supplies. She started out with an ambitious goal of 5 book bags with a target of about $50 each. She reached out to friends, family, church members, and the community for support, and thanks to the generosity of our community, Emma raised more than $4,000. So from 5 book bags, she filled over 80 book bags. It's quite an accomplishment, Emma. Thank you for what you have done and the leadership you provided. Mr. Collier?
Emma, you have been on the news, you've been on social media, you have been everywhere. This board is aware of you because I've seen information come to the entire board about Emma and her project. And I believe the Panthers owner, Mr. Tepper, copied you. When Mr. Tepper did his book bag program, I think he heard about you and copied yours. It's an incredible job. This board could not be more proud of what you've done over at Rankin Elementary. And on behalf of the board, we have a certificate of recognition signed by our board chairman, Mr. Moore, and our superintendent, Dr. Jeffrey Booker, thanking you for what a wonderful job you've done.
You can just open it, open your...
Yeah, open it up.
Mr. Collier will note that they have IDs on as well.
All right, that's good, Mr. Kelly. I see her. Please, next to Mr. Collier. Yes, I know who their parents were, but I wanted this to be her moment. And one more. All right. Thank you. Shake the board's hand.
Thank you.
You guys need to come on up. You're right.
We featured Emma's dad. He actually teaches at the elementary school he attended, so that's great. Next, I'd like to ask Mr. Marty Hutchins to come forward. He serves as the golf coach of Highland School of Technology, and he has been named the North Carolina Golf Coaches Association's 2019 Coach of the Year.
Hutchins is a wonderful golf coach, but he's also a wonderful art teacher. I stole Mr. Hutchins 14 years ago from Ashford High School. And I'm just so proud of you. Proud of the job you did at Highland, not only with my golf, but you're a wonderful teacher, and that's an important thing. I have 2 things. One of them, this is a plaque that honored you as the Golf Coach of the Year award from the state of North Carolina. And also from us, we have the North Carolina Golf Coaches Association Coach of the Year, and we have you a nice little plaque. But we were very proud of you. He's had a couple taken the state championship, 4 times or 5? I mean, I can't get over how well you're doing. Plus, he makes really good art stuff. I mean, he does, but I'm really proud of him. I would like, we might as well get all your principals up here. I'd like Mr. Montgomery and Mrs. McLean, the whole crowd here. You. And me. So all three of us. He has been our boss 3 times. Don't forget. You can take both of these. Hold on. Yeah. You're fine. I get the rules right there. Why don't you move over? We'll move there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Keep walking around.
So now you stand to Gene now. Oh, you're good. Congratulations.
See you, Mark. Congratulations. Get that right over there.
So we started with the proudest kid in Gaston County. Then we had an outstanding student with community service, athletic award. Now we get to recognize great members of our community who give to our students. Tonight, we want to recognize local dentists for their work with the Gaston Family Health Dental Program. And there are a number of them, if they could come forward. All those with the program, come forward. While they're coming forward, the GFH Smiles program did incredible work in 2018-19. They provided, I want you to hear this, over 1,300 children in our schools with dental, education, exams, cleanings, and x-rays if needed. They also diagnose cavities and provide sealants for children who need them. If there was a value placed on all the work they have done, it would exceed over $120,000. So thank you for all that you do. And Mr. Usry?
Thank you, Dr. Hooker. If you're true to your teeth, they'll never be false to you. Advantage of the program that you offer the children, and then I wouldn't be so afraid to go see Dr. Cloninger next week. Y'all call him and tell him not to hurt me. Thank you. Thank you, very kind. You know, I only played golf one time in my life, and I shot a 73, and that was on the first hole. On behalf of the Board of Education, we want to give this plaque to you all to acknowledge your outstanding contribution to the Gaston Dental Program and to thank you for all that you've done for the young people of our school system. So thank you.
Okay, slide one step to the right. There you go. Maybe if she can hold it, you kind of. Oh, sure. There's the dental. You guys just put your hand on there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you again for all that great work on behalf of our students. Mr. Chair, that concludes the good news portion for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Booker. The next item on our agenda is to allow opportunity for public expression. Madam Clerk, tonight we do not have any individuals signed up to be heard, so we'll move on. The next item on our agenda is the approval or correction of minutes from our past meetings. Tonight we're asking for the approval of the minutes from the August 5th and August 19th, 2019 meetings. I need a motion.
Chairman, I move that minutes are approved as written.
Mr. Devon, second Mr. Hall. Any questions, discussion? All in favor? And it is carried. The next item on our agenda is our classroom moment. And we have Mrs. McLean coming to present. This is the information item.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman Moore, Dr. Booker, Board. We're excited to be here this evening to share a little bit of information about some great things happening in the Dallas community. The schools in the Dallas community have implemented a program called The Leader in Me. And here tonight we have Carr, W.C. Friday, and North Gaston, who will come and share some information with you. But this is a transformation model for schools to share with their students and help them to become leaders in their schools, in the community, and also as they prepare to enter the workforce years on down the line. So in this order, I ask that they would all come, but in this order you'll hear presentations from Carr, Costner, W.C. Friday, and North Gaston. And we have their principals, Dr. Duncan, Ms. Reese, the assistant principal at Costner, Mr. Copper, and Mr. Connor. If you would come in that order. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us this evening. Chairman Moore, Dr. Booker, esteemed board members, I'm so excited to stand here tonight and have the opportunity to talk with you about the great things that are going on at Carr with the Leader in Me program. So we are definitely proud to be a Leader in Me program. We found out last spring that we were going to be able to embark on this new journey, and the staff at Carr had training for 3 whole days in August to really reflect and to think about how we were going to start this process at our school. So one of the big parts of the Leader in Me is really a shift in our paradigm. Instead of only looking at the academic pieces for students, we're looking at the whole child with this model. So every year I like to have a school-wide theme. So with the Leader in Me, it just made sense that we were going to have the Wizard of Oz. So our theme this year is There's No Place Like Carr, Follow the Leader in Me. And we have a fantastic bulletin board in our front, so anybody that comes to the office gets to see our theme in action. One of the other parts is really focusing on that positive communication and getting the information about the Leader in Me out to our families and our community. We have a brand new phone greeting, so when you call Carr Elementary, you're going to hear the regular greeting, but you're also going to hear, thank you for calling Carr Elementary, a proud Leader in Me school. We're using our school marquee to market that as well. We sent home a letter to our parents explaining about the Leader in Me process, and on the back it actually has the 7 habits tree, because that's what the kids are learning in class, and we want them to post it on the refrigerator so they can refer to those habits at home as well. We also ordered new student folders, and inside the habits are listed so the parents and the students are seeing it in all of our communication. So you see our marquee. One of the parts of the Leader in Me is to actually have time in your daily schedule for the teachers to teach the lessons that go along with the 7 habits. So for the first 8 days of school, every teacher devoted 45 minutes of the day to really introduce each habit in depth. So now, every day from 8 o'clock to 8:15, we have our morning meeting, and the students and the teachers are involved in the lessons that go along with the Leader in Me. The lessons focus on the 7 habits of happy kids. So here's the 7 habits tree that we've sent home. So also a part of these first 8 lessons, every class created a classroom mission statement. So this was not something that the teacher said, boys and girls, this is going to be our mission statement. The kids actually generated the ideas. And so here's an example of one. This is from one of our kindergarten classes. And so you see all of the kids have signed the mission statement, but they say in room 14, we promise to listen and follow directions, be kind and work together, make good choices, do our very best every day, and have fun while learning. Now, isn't this what we want everybody to do, even us as grown-ups? Another part, along with really changing the culture, is really focusing on the aesthetic improvement of our school. One of the words that the Leader in Me folks use is you're going to leaderize your building. So we have really had a strong focus on college, and we've also had a focus on even putting decorations in the restrooms, because everywhere you go, we want you to see that we think you can be a leader. So we have a display in our front hallway, and I don't know if you can see the red arrow. We have our head leader pictured on there too. So this is a picture of all of our certified staff members and the college that they have received their degree from. So as soon as you walk into CAR, you know that college begins in kindergarten because it is literally there on the front wall. So these are some shots of the decorations we've added to the restroom mirrors. So literally when the kids are looking in the mirror, it says, "Greatness starts here." Each teacher has also been inspired to select a positive leadership quote to display it outside of their door, but to also display their college pennant, their graduation picture, because we want all of our students to know that that's where we want you to be when you finish in Gaston County Schools. So here's a few more shots. We have a 4th grade teacher that actually has had a couple careers. Her first career was in the Army. Now she's with us as a 4th grade teacher, and we thought that that was very important to include as well. But you see, even around our clocks, time to be kind. So having that positive message about those physical attributes that we're looking at every single day. So some next steps. We're really going to beef up our club offerings. We've been offering an after-school STEM club for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students for about 4 years now. So we're going to continue to do that, but we're going to kind of add some additional clubs. We're going to have some before-school clubs, some during-school clubs, in addition to the after-school opportunities we have at this time. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm not going to lie, this is a little intimidating. First time. So at Costner, we are doing a lot of the similar things as Ms. Duncan, or Dr. Duncan has just spoken to you about. So I'll get into kind of how we've kicked off our school year to start. So I'm going to briefly talk to you about our first 8 days, what we're doing in the focus each week, our lead time, and then also our Spanish class. And then I also have a student that's going to share a little bit with you as well. So for the first 8 days after we received our 3-day training, we really kind of took a look at the first day lessons, and we decided as a Lighthouse team, and that's kind of our leadership team for the Leader in Me, we decided that we were going to really, if we really wanted this to be successful, we are going to have to go all in. So we just went full in with the 7 habits. For the first 8 days, that is all we did. So, and our students have really, and our staff as well, have really learned what each of those habits means and how they can start to implement them in their lives. We sent our academic facilitators in kind of a panic. Some of our staff went into a panic with the pacing, but we've worked really close with our facilitators to kind of pace out and keep us on track to meet our standards focus as well. At the end of the 8 days on the 9th day of school, which happened to be a Friday, we celebrated those first 8 days and the success and just the overall difference you could already feel walking into our door with a pep rally that our students worked with some of the staff to plan, and from start to finish, students did everything with that, and so that was really awesome to see. And there are some pictures and videos and stuff on our school website if you want to check those out. So to keep up with our 7 Habits focus, we have a focus a week, and we decided to do one focus every week because sometimes we have transient students. So if we took that out a month, then they may come in and it may be 2 months before they learn anything about another habit. So by focusing on one habit per week, it keeps it fresh, and then also students that come in can also be kind of caught up on that. We do a lead time each day. So the first 20 minutes of our day, it's from 8:10 to 8:30. Our entire staff is immersed in lead time, and that's where they're focusing on the 7 habits. We've taken the time to pair our support staff. Anybody extra in our building that does not have a homeroom is paired with a homeroom, and they participate in that lead time with that homeroom class. And then we've also added a Spanish class this year, and so our students are now learning Spanish. And I'm going to turn this over to Jacob Cloninger. He is one of our 4th grade students, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about how the Leader in Me has affected him thus far.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jacob Cloninger, and I'm just going to be talking about some stuff about the 7 habits. So, yeah, let's just get started. So this year we started the Leader in Me program, and it shows, 7 ways to improve, kind of as a person. I don't know how to really explain it, but yeah. So, personally, I like the Leader in Me because, school kind of forgets to teach you one thing, and that's, how to be a better person, how to socialize with people. But thanks to the Leader in Me, it kind of helps do that. So, yeah. Instead of teaching them, math or reading, it teaches them that too. And my favorite habit is put first things first, because sometimes I'll go in the garage and play when I'm supposed to do my homework. So then I might have to do it at night if I forget. But thanks to the 7 habits, I know to do my homework first and then play. So yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, we'd like to thank you for allowing WC Friday to come speak to you today. We started last spring with our plans to become a Leader in Me school. We sent out a launch team that visited multiple middle schools, and we learned a lot about the other schools, and then we decided to set up a plan to implement the Leader in Me at WC Friday. And we had a staff training in August, 3 days, just like a lot of the other schools, which was huge for our staff as far as getting them all on board. And then we had a Leader in Me parent night in August, where they got to meet me as the principal, and also we got to teach them more about Leader in Me and how important it's going to be for the community. So that was very important. At WC Friday, we have a lead time that's 25 minutes This is our advisory time. We teach the 7 habits there. We have very small class sizes, and the reason why we have small class sizes is very simple, because we have every staff meeting, every staff member involved in actually teaching the classes. So you're looking at class sizes between 12 and 15 students in a class, which is awesome. We also have clubs that are going to be offered to all students twice a month beginning in October, and we've got a wide range. We already have clubs, obviously, at WC Friday, but we're going to have a huge amount of clubs, and we're going to be able to offer so many things to so many kids, so it's very exciting. This is our daily focus with our lead time. As you can see, on Monday, we do what we accomplish our weekly WIGs, which is our wildly important goals. And then on Tuesday, we have our 7 habits lesson. Wednesday, we have kind of a student work session where our students are able to get some of the work that they've not completed and work on that and stay ahead of their grades and also their work. And then on Thursdays, we have another lesson. A lot of times we're either continuing the same lesson that we were doing on Tuesday, or we're starting new lessons. And then Friday is a reflection on our data notebooks. Our students are looking at their data every week, and they're tracking their data for their grades, and they're keeping up with that. And that goes along with their wildly important goals. So it's very important, and I've talked to a lot of students that are very happy about this. This is the first time they've ever really started looking at that and improving as they're moving along. Also, our clubs, as you see some of the names, the titles of some of the clubs: Fishing Club, Battle of the Books, Sewing Club. I mean, we've got all kinds of different things that we're going to be able to offer our kids this year, which is very exciting. We also have leadership opportunities for our students. We talked a little bit earlier about a Lighthouse committee. Our students will be on that, as well as we will have community members and, of course, staff. Then we're going to start up our student council. We don't have a student council at WC Friday, and we're going to be starting that up. And then we're going to be doing student-led projects for our community. That's something that's very important. And then the most important part is actually getting them involved. And so I wanted to give you an example of how we're getting our students involved with special ceremonies. This past week for 9/11, we had a very special remembrance ceremony, and I've got a special young lady, Hayla Freeman, is going to tell you about that real quick, speaking of leadership, because this is what it's all about, getting our kids involved and actually doing the leadership part. So I'm going to let Hayla talk to you a little bit.
Hello, my name is Hayla Freeman, and I'm an 8th grade band student at WC Friday's Leadership Academy. This past Wednesday, September 11th, I was given the honor to lead our remembrance ceremony. During our 9/11 remembrance ceremony, I gave a short speech honoring those who died on 9/11. Our band also played the national anthem, and we recognized a moment of silence for those who passed away on 9/11. We had over 250 students participate in the program. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to lead.
Oops. Good evening, board members. Thank you for letting us from North Gaston come and speak to you about our leadership program. We're very excited about it. We actually got things going a little bit earlier than some of the other schools. We put together a book study. Started out in late 2018, carried on into the spring of 2019 with our staff members. We went over the 7 habits of highly effective teens, and got some great dialogue going along between our staff, and so then that led us into several of our staff, our lead team folks got an opportunity, thanks to Dr. Balknight, to go to the Leader in Me Symposium in Columbia, which was an outstanding event. We got to network with schools that are in the process that we're in and going through those types of things. Got lots of great information to bring back to North Gaston. We were able to do some visits with North Hendersonville High School, which is probably about a year ahead of us, but we were able to to go up there, take 2 visits with staff, ask them lots of questions. We actually are planning on going back maybe next week with some of our folks, and they've been a great partner for us in this process. Our approach is really a 2-pronged approach. Initially, when we were talking about the Leader in Me program in North Gaston, it was to have the Leadership Academy. But when you dive into the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens and People, that's something that our whole school needed to be involved in. And that was readily apparent right off the bat. So what we have is we have a whole school approach with our 1,100 students. They're engaged in lessons about the 7 habits and how they relate to their lives currently and then their lives in the future. And then we also have a more concentrated approach, a pathway approach, where we have students taking leadership courses, 1 each year, starting with this freshman class, and they'll take a course each year as they build towards a Covey leadership certification that they will have the opportunity to earn at the end of those times. So our whole school implementation takes place. We have what we call a lead schedule, and that is takes place on Thursdays. Our coordinator, Glenn Glover, puts together the lessons for us for each of the classes. And what we did was we have an advisory schedule, but we went back in and we created a lead class for all of our students. Totally different from advisory. So they're in there with different peer members. They have different teachers that are leading their particular group. So they have an opportunity to interact with students that they may not see on a regular basis and teachers that they may or may not have had before. And the teachers, with the lessons that Lynn has provided for them, go through and they are learning the 7 habits as a whole school. Our class sizes in those are approximately about 20 students each. Here are some of the bulletin boards around our school. We gave each department a bulletin board, and they were able to turn them loose as far as creating leadership bulletin boards. The Leader in Me with the tree there on the upper right-hand corner, that's in our cafeteria. As you come right in, that's the first thing you see. We've got the English department, our foreign language department, and then our history, social studies department boards, as you can see. Like I said, the pathway approach, there's 2 sections in the fall and 2 sections in the spring. Those classes are 90 minutes, and they're following the Covey curriculum. And there are also project-based learning classes where the students will be developing projects on their own and then implementing those projects throughout the school and throughout our community. And so I'm going to turn things over to Ms. Glover and 2 of our awesome students.
It's really just them. I teach the leadership classes, the semester-long classes, and I brought 2 of my students, 1 from each class. This is Sydney Newton.
Good afternoon. Oh, excuse me. Good afternoon. My name is Sydney Newton. I'm a part of the Leadership Academy at North Gaston. In just 3 weeks, our class has taken initiative not only in the classroom, but on and off campus. In our classroom, we talk about the 7 habits of highly effective teens in detail and paradigm shifts. But on campus, we have adopted our courtyard, and we have been, pulling weeds and sweeping leaves and, painting the benches just to, make our school look better. Off campus, we have got an invitation from Costner to come help with, their Leader in Me initiative, and we are able to greet the kids as they walk into school, just to show that they can be a leader as an elementary school, but also as they, they grow older. It's something that sticks with you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Shamaya Douglas. I'm taking the leadership class this semester. I'm in Ms. Glovery's 4th period. And in leadership we have different roles where the students get to choose what type of what they want to do to involve themselves in the class. Like we have a class greeter, which is me, and we have a timekeeper, a note taker, someone that passes out classroom materials, and we have a technology expert, someone who works with the board, And also in class, we do this unique activity. It is called Teach to Learn, where the students actually teach the other student, and I say unique because it's a better understanding for me to learn it in a different perspective, not from a teacher, because it could be easier to certain other students could learn easily by that. And I just think overall, the leadership class is a good program. It teaches a lot, especially about the 7 habits of highly effective teens. And so that's all.
I just want to say that I knew that there were good things happening when I told the class that I was going to have to be out soon and was going to have to get a substitute. And one of the students said, "Could I just teach the class that day?" And so I said, "Yes, you're going to." That was actually Sydney. That's it.
Thank you all.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, schools, for your participation as well.
Hey, hang on one second.
I just want to make a comment. First of all, I want to shake all those girls' hands when we're done. But I happened to be at Costner when they had their pep rally, and it was really awesome. I mean, the excitement was really great. What I really liked, I liked from Costner to Carr to Friday to North Gaston. I mean, this breeds our whole community getting better, and I think that's going to show in our test scores. I mean, this stuff gives an old principal goosebumps when he hears them talking like that. But I'm very proud of you. You're taking a good leadership initiative, and this has got to be great for our school system. But thank you all 4 schools.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Collier.
Shake their hands.
Thank you. And who did we miss? We missed one.
Haley, I think.
Oh, she's already gone. All right. Thanks, George. Thank you, sir. And Mr. Hall was with me also. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
We don't want any of that, please, right now.
Yeah, you guys, hold on just a second. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Mr. Collier?
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, before they leave, Mr. Cloninger, I've just got to say something to you, sir. I paid a consulting firm to come in a lot of money last year to come in, and the one thing they taught me was first things first. And you already know that and didn't have to pay a fortune for a consulting firm to come in to do that. So I just want to say my hat's off to what they're learning. Then just needed to point out that, like I said, I spent a lot of money for a big firm to come in and teach me that.
Ms. Guthrie?
I can hardly wait to speak. I want to say, first of all, whatever Gaston County Schools paid for the training was well worth it. And I want you to know that from the 7 habits, begin with the end in mind, be proactive, put first things first, think, win-win, seek, first to understand, then to be understood, synergize, and sharpen the saw. And you have done that this evening. We want you to know that we greatly appreciate all that you've done. I mean, I have just a little diary here. You first of all, you said there's no place like your school. Your teachers bought into what you're doing. You showed, began with the end in mind. Kindergarten, seniors, and then you're going to do the lighthouse. Everything that this program stands for, you have implemented it there in the Dallas school. And just as Mr. Detman said, the foundation begins in the elementary schools and it continues.
And that's what I like. We're feeding the expected outcome will be success for the students. So we appreciate all that you have done. Keep up the good work. You are training your students right now to be independent and to develop lifetime learning skills. We thank you for your dedication and for the commitment to the program. Thank you.
Ms. Cherry?
I go on the mobile app all the time, and the one thing that I've noticed, along with what they've said, is how you are promoting it on our website. So that means everybody's seeing it, and that's tremendous. And the excitement that I get just seeing y'all's creativity and the enthusiasm, it's spreading. So great job, great job.
I'm going to stand for you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ms. McLean. The next item on our agenda is a report from the Operations Committee. The Operations Committee is made up of Mr. Lee Dedman, who is the chairman of that committee, Mr. Jeff Ramsey, Mr. Steve Hall, Mr. Kevin Collier. And Mr. Steve Hall is going to be bringing this to report.
Okay, the committee met on Monday, September the 9th of 2019, 4 p.m. here in the boardroom. And our committee includes, as you've done stated, our agenda. The second floor at the Belmont Middle has been poured. That's the new middle school. Brickwork for area B1 will be completed by the end of next month. They will start setting trusses for the gym floor by the end of the week, and the plumbers are still ahead of schedule, and ducts are currently going on, which that's good to stay ahead of the brick masons. Everything is in place and almost completed at Stanley Middle. Dr. Morgan Huchard, our Executive Director of Auxiliary Services, shared with us an update on capital projects. Current bond projects and updates can be found on the Gaston County School website. Jerry Hoskins, our Chief Financial Officer, updated us on the current insurance policy premiums for the district. He also updated us on the school business system modernization. We're waiting on the statement of work and contract template in order to begin the conversion process in November. An outside project manager will be hired due to the complexity and time requirements for this project. The committee was informed that an engineering firm has been engaged to design and develop a scope of work for the tennis courts at North Gaston High School. The Operation Committee wants to recommend that the board approve the following expenditures over $100,000. The Chrome RFP award and the auditorium stage renovations at North Gaston High School. And that concluded our meeting, and the next meeting will be October the 7th, 2019 at 4 p.m. here in the boardroom.
Thank you, Mr. Hall, for that report. The next item on our agenda is the report from our Curriculum and Instruction Committee. The members of that committee are Mrs. Guthrie, which is the chairman of that committee, Mr. Terry Usry, Mrs. Dot Cherry, Mr. Justin Davis, and I believe Ms. Dot Cherry is going to bring that report.
Yes. We met at noon on September the 9th, and had a very productive meeting. Mr. Moore was also present. We approved our minutes from August the 5th, and we received a informational update on our TIPS program, which is our Teacher Induction Program for Success for our middle and high school. And that was extremely informative, and from what we understand and we have seen, is highly, highly successful, and we have gotten tremendous positive feedback from the TIPS participants. So we're very pleased with the way that that program is going. We also got updates on the progress made with the Cooperative Innovative High School grant from Ms. McLean, and looking forward to that outcome. And information was also shared on scholarships and financial aid, and the committee requested a review to to review district and school processes concerning the scholarships and financial aid. We adjourned the meeting at 1:41, and our next meeting will be October the 7th at noon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Our next item on the agenda is Gaston County Schools Business Advisory Council update, and this is an information item, and I'm going to hand that over to Dr. Booker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, you'll recall that 5 years ago you formed a blue ribbon panel of business leaders, commissioners, and chamber members to work and evaluate your career and technical education program and look to cast a direction for the coming years. Ironically, 2 years into that, the state saw the work that you were doing, we believe, and now they've mandated that every county have such a committee. And so that committee has evolved into what is known as the Business Advisory Council. So I've asked Mr. Buchanan to come tonight. He is in charge of our career and technical education program, and he's going to provide you the same information that the committee will see on the 24th. But he's also, in being out in the community, I've had several questions about what does our career and technical education do beyond being the second largest credentials in the state of North Carolina. What does that mean? What are our students getting exposed to? And so he's going to give you some background information on what all goes on in career and technical education. And he's going to highlight the fact that when he talks, he represents a cadre of teachers that do phenomenal work with our students every day and expose. Dr. Houchard worked with one of the career development coordinators because I met a student and who was very interested in diesel engines. And so he spent an afternoon down in our bus garage. That's just one example of how we reach and try to give students extra exposure. So, Mr. Buchanan.
Thank you, Dr. Booker. Good afternoon, members of the Gaston County Board of Education, Chairman Moore, Vice Chairman Collier, and Dr. Booker. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. As was mentioned, I'm Brett Buchanan, the Career and Technical Education Director for Gaston County Schools. I'm going to give you a few updates of what has transpired since I last met with you in May, and then that will lead into our Business Advisory Council updates, and that meeting will take place next Tuesday at Hunter Huss High School. Overall, still have a CTE presence in 22 schools, our 10 high, 11 middle, and 1 alternative school. One of the things I've just learned in getting some access to DPI data for 1920, we've had a 1,000 student increase in CTE enrollment for 1920. So yeah, it was a 6% increase. It's definitely something good to hear when you think of overall enrollment and then this much increase in just from 1819 to 1920. 140 CTE staff, including our support staff, 170 different course titles. So if you can't find it in Gaston County Schools, it probably just doesn't exist. We have a lot of offerings, and obviously you can see from the additional enrollment, our students are interested in that and want to take advantage of that. Recently, our CTE funding that has been tied to the Carl Perkins Act, we were last year in version 4. It has changed to Perkins 5. There are a few changes associated with that, but ultimately we do have performance metrics we must hit and maintain, leading to these next two numbers, which are above and beyond any minimums. This is still 17-18 data. 18-19 information should be released from the Department of Public Instruction anywhere from October to January. 87.8% proficiency, that's over 8,400 tested CTE students. Our high school CTE courses do have an end-of-course exam mandated by the Department of Public Instruction. In Affinity Group 1, the top 10 largest districts in North Carolina, we were the top performer. That's the first time that has ever happened, and for the first time we outperformed Wake County schools in doing so. Leading to the second metrics of student earned industry recognized certifications, anything from OSHA to Microsoft to a CNA to Adobe certifications. In the past 5 years, we have continually improved our placing in that, reaching 12,500 plus. And remember, we're only the 10th largest district in the state of North Carolina. Wake is 5 times our size, but only produced 1,500 more credentials. So that leads to a number that explains that is a earning efficiency ratio. And this will lead into the next slide of how truly awesome our support staff is and what they do. So when you're thinking about every child in Gaston County Schools that walks into a CTE course that offers a credential, they earn 1.6 credentials per child. Now let's look at Wake County Schools. When they come in there, each child earns a half a credential, or their students earn half of what's available out there. And we're at 161.5%, 1.6 credentials per child. So that's why we do so great at what we do, and that's going to lead to the next slide of our support staff. So we have 15 truly amazing individuals out there in our schools representing a high school and paired feeder middle school that work, and I would like to call them the Swiss Army knife of support staff. They are performing 3 roles. They're an instructional management coordinator, a career development coordinator, and a special populations coordinator. So they are helping improve our teachers with the instructional management piece, hence the 87.8% proficiency, their career development role with our large-scale events and work-based learning, students at work, educators in the workplace, manufacturing, career expo, on top of what they have inside their school and middle schools, helping work with all of these pieces. And then ultimately, you heard me say we receive federal funds. If you receive federal funds, you have compliance pieces attached to that. They also form that, are in that function under the Special Populations Coordinator. So it's 3 licensures, it's 3 support areas, and they can do it all with tremendous results. So enough cannot be said about them and what they do. They allow me to stand up here and be this proud about how we perform in CTE. Credentials by content, you hear the 12,500 plus number, second in the state of North Carolina, but I wanted to package those in something that's a little more understandable for the public when viewing this in regards to, instead of going through individual credentials and certifications, these are some easily understandable credentials. And one of the things I think you would be truly impressed with, not only are we offering the content, operating at an 87+% proficiency, but also giving our students an additional value add, something in their pocket that they can take somewhere and it means something to an employer. First will be public safety. Some associated courses will be fire, EMT, and then public safety itself, and some credentials attached to that. In fire, it will be the OSFM, Office of the State Fire Marshals, fire tech certifications. If you're going to be work in a fire department in North Carolina, you are going to have OSFM certifications. We not only teach that to our students, but we provide the certification process in-house at our school, Hunter Huss High School. EMT, we've got that at 3 high schools. If you're going to be a paramedic, EMT, et cetera, your first step is to get the EMT1 basic certification. We have that at 3 high schools. And then public safety, you may not have heard of the NIMS certification, but when I explain where it will be used, you will have heard of this before. So it's National Incident Management System. So in disaster relief, FEMA, et cetera, you have to be NIMS certified to work in those disaster areas. Our public safety courses offer that also. Health sciences, whether it's biotech, health team relations, health science 1, health science 2, nursing fundamentals, certifications, CPR, first aid, OSHA healthcare, and the 10-hour certification, and then our CNA certification, 17, 18, and 97% pass rate in that CNA certification, tied for the largest offering in the state with Guilford County Schools, and every single high school offers the nursing fundamentals and the associated certification. Soft skills, that's one of the ones, and when thinking about the leader and me and Jacob, what he was talking about, soft skills is the one thing, if I'm in a meeting, and I'm sure you can say the same, if you're talking to businesses or employers, you're going to hear the demand and need for soft skills. We offer a certification, the Conover Soft Skill, that is offered in every high school. Almost all of our 9th graders who take career management will have the opportunity to earn this certification. The one thing we constantly hear from employers, give me someone with soft skills that can work with a group of individuals, present themselves. I can train them to do what's needed, and they can progress in that company. A real world example happened last year at Ashbrook. We had a student get a part-time job, was accepted, and before he could work at this large retail chain that I'm sure every single one of you have visited at least once the past week, before he could work on the floor, he had to get a soft skills certification, this exact one. He was very excited about that, completely skipped that part of the process in regards to going out there and work on the floor. So that is a real world example of this exact certification being sought after, to the point of a child got a part-time job and skipped that part of it to begin working. Business courses, some opportunities associated with that. Microsoft Excel, Access, Adobe Photoshop, EVER-5 financial literacy, and then venture entrepreneurship certifications. Hospitality, whether it be in our foods, culinary programs, you're going to have ServSafe certifications. Remember, if you eat somewhere in the public, you're going to have at least one ServSafe certification attached person working there. And then where we get the volume of our certifications, trades and industry, and those are associated to our NCCER, National Center for Construction Education Research certifications. We have a large construction entity in our county that trains their employees to get this certification specifically. OSHA 10-hour construction safety certification, moving on, welding, and then with automotive service excellence, ASE certifications, and then the SP2 certifications. So that's 12,500 plus credentials, second in the state of North Carolina, packed into those 6 areas. Remember, the multi-tools, the Swiss Army knives, they're also working with their teachers to not only master their curriculum, but also incorporate these credential opportunities for our students. So we do well at what we do, but that's not just repetitive pieces. That's one of the things that's very intriguing about CTE, but at the same time tricky when you talk about, I can tell you courses, let's take, for example, advanced manufacturing. 5 years ago, that did not exist, not only in DPI and CTE, et cetera, but pretty much the same at Gaston College. So we secured a Golden Leaf grant in partnership with Gaston College. They have a CAM building over there for advanced manufacturing. That's something that didn't exist 5 years ago. So these are new opportunities just for 1920 across all of these schools. And when you talk about performing at that level and constantly evolving and changing and adding and still performing that well, it's truly remarkable what we can do in CTE with an awesome staff, not only in our teachers, but our support staff. I won't go through all of these offerings, but keep in mind with your new choice programs, the asterisk programs are choice programs that have a CTE focus that we will be helping implement inside those schools. Also, take a moment to focus on Highland and Stuart Kramer. We were accepted to do 2 Department of Public Instruction pilots, so that means we are accepted for it. Our teachers, Mr. Freilich and then Ms. Price, go to summer conference, get the training for these new them inside of their school, offer those to the students. So anything from trades to coding to computer science, those are just new offerings on top of what we already do well. Work-based learning. This is something that you may not have heard me say this terminology that much, but it's associated to words you have probably heard. Internships, apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, clinicals, observations, and then job shadowing. So when it comes to our compliance world, we have minimum metrics set on us in regards to minimum work-based learning opportunities. And basically that's what this definition says. Real-life work experience is offered to our students, usually in their junior and senior year whenever they are getting ready to complete their 4-course CTE concentration. So when you're looking at volume numbers, what have we been doing or our students been doing in the past 5 years regarding work-based learning opportunities, you can see this number is around 800 for 1819 and 1920. Keep in mind this 1920 number is a little low because usually our internships, apprenticeships, et cetera, happen in the spring semester, and this is data current as of last week. So that will go up a little bit. Opportunities that would include this or courses that you would associate with these work-based learning opportunities: internship, pre-apprenticeship, Dental 4, Dental 6, early childhood education, health sciences 2, nursing fundamentals. All of those have observation hours, clinical hours, directly working with a business. One of the most involved programs that you usually have questions revolving is the internship program. That's 135 hours minimum of working with a company to get some work-based learning opportunities. So going from junior to senior year is mainly where this will take place. So these are actually some high percentage numbers when you look at when the opportunity becomes available. And then on top of thinking back to our support staff, career awareness events, some of these have taken place in the past and just this summer. Overall, Students at Work, every 8th grade student in the county, recurring annual event, visiting around 25 local businesses to get some of that exposure or work-based learning opportunity before they sign up for high school courses. Manufacturing Career Expo, 400 middle school students, 400 high school students being taught by our manufacturing employers in a partnership with Gaston College using their campus. One of the most truly awe-inspiring events that a lot of you came to witness is our career signing day. It happened 2 years ago for the first time. 4 students, 3 businesses, the culmination of learning your curriculum, having an internship opportunity, and then performing so well that you are offered a career opportunity upon graduation. Took advantage of that. The second year tripled the size of it, not only with students participating, 12 students and 8 businesses. The first time we offered this ended up being in the New York Times, so very proud of this. This is just one of those events that when you step back, you say, this is what it's all about. When you're helping them from education into the future and becoming a true benefit to the community, these are one of the feel-good events that really highlight or showcase what it's all about in education. And then Educators in the Workplace just happened a couple months ago, again in July. 8 businesses, 30 educators ranging from 5th grade teachers and counselors all the way through 12th grade teachers and counselors. Had 4 new businesses on hand that have never participated before, so excited about that. And then looking into the future events, TAP, Talent and Prosperity. That's a collaboration between the Chamber, Leadership Gaston, and Hunter Huss High School with the Career Academy. So they are organizing events where the different academies inside of Hunter Huss can be paired with work-based learning opportunities for an entire day. Once that takes place, about 10 events throughout the year. We've already had 1 take place. It will expose over 100 students in the Career Academy to relevant work-based learning opportunities in their area of focus. And then something new we were just invited to will take place here in a few weeks. NC Advanced Manufacturing Career Awareness Opportunity in partnership with the Workforce Development Board. We will take students from every high school, seniors interested in a possibility of a manufacturing career, staying in the area. They can work with those businesses. That evening, they will have a job fair. So we are encouraging these students, if you're serious about an opportunity, show up with a resume. It may work out in the end that you can have something in the future established. Hopefully, at minimum, maybe get some internships sparked. And then Gaston Go, we were asked to see if we participate in that. So we have Hunter Huss High School, Highland School of Technology, and the East Gaston. I will be part of this Go Education Week. They will visit, speak, and then tour about what is being offered inside of those schools. And then National Technical Honor Society, top level CTE senior concentrator, 3.0 GPA or higher. The last 2 years we've had double-digit increases percentage-wise in the number of top-tier performers in National Technical Honor Society. That will be November the 19th. Stuart Cramer High School. Invite you to attend that and just to help us celebrate our top-level performers in CTE being recognized and inducted into a National Honor Society. So that being said, not only is that an update in CTE, but that will also be what will be covered for district-level information at our Business Advisory Council. As Dr. Booker mentioned, we definitely feel like this is something that legislature heard about from Gaston County Schools and implemented it to the entire state. But this is their vision and mission they created, that being the Business Advisory Council. You are very aware of them, approved of the initial members. We will be meeting at Hunter Huss High School not only to hear the information I have just presented, but to let them tour the Career Academy and see what it is we do with their own eyes and how well we do it. We will also get some feedback from them just to see, hey, what can we do to enhance our partnership, and then looking into the future of what you know, how could we take that back to our table and start planning to run in parallel with the future with our Business Advisory Council members. So that being said, that's some information district level that's happened, that will take place, and then also with the Advisory Council. Are there any questions that may be presented to me that I will answer for you?
Any questions?
Just a comment, Mr. Chair. Mr. Buchanan, what you're doing continues to make this county proud and this Board of Education. And I forgot the word you told us the last time, what we called it. Do you remember the word?
I was trying to think about that word, too. It was a special word that was beyond exemplary, and I had to look it up.
Yes, I mean, it is beyond exemplary, and just, and there's no words to really say what an incredible job that you're doing in our CTE program. I'm sure some of the other board members get the feedback that I do about. They're just fascinated. I talk to people in Charlotte all the time, and I tell them some of the things they're doing, and they said, that's what we should be doing in school. And they said, why aren't we doing this over here? Why aren't we doing this in Charlotte? And these are people that have kids in private schools as well as public school over there saying the various comments. So keep up the great work. It is very well noticed outside this county. And some of the people in this county don't know exactly what we have. But I just want to thank you for the great job you continue to do.
Thank you, sir.
And just to comment and follow up with Kevin, I agree with him. In the business community, we was always looking for that partnership, and then 4 or 5 years ago, it finally happened, and it's amazing the difference what happened since 2015, that they've gotten involved and realized that we're changing kids' lives. They can literally come out of school and graduate and start a job. That's tremendous that we're creating these pathways for them, so keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Davis?
Not to put you on the spot too bad, what percentage of our high school students are taking some CTE course?
There's different ways to answer that.
Okay.
But ultimately, I would say it would be very hard to find a student their entire high school career that has not been exposed to at least one opportunity.
Okay.
And like I said, there's different angles, whether you're looking at a specific freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, but with the opportunities we have available and then the interest in just, like I mentioned, an additional 1,000 students in 1 year, it's a very high percentage that are taking at least one opportunity in a 4-year span.
Okay. And is that the same with our middle school as well?
It is. We're seeing increases in both areas. Just on the one slide, we are offering some additional new opportunities, and there's at least 4 to 6 in just the middle school. We just have opened a brand new family consumer science program, pairing with Southwest, leading to Hunter Huss's Career Academy, some coding courses. So there's a lot of opportunities in middle, and generate that excitement and that much 1,000 student volume. It's from middle through high.
So whether we've got kids that are going to college or going to work, throughout their middle school and high school careers with us, just about every one of our kids is touching a CTE program somehow, some way.
100%. It would be very hard to find a unicorn that hasn't in that time span.
That's fantastic.
May I say one thing,
Ms.
please? Mr. Buchanan, I always like to hear you present, because you seem to be so excited about your work and what you do in order to help our children. And again, you have shown that you have the excitement, and you generate excitement through the staff in the CTE program. I would assume that that's one of the reasons why you had such an increase in your enrollment, as far as getting out there and motivating and showing the children that there are options to be had. I wanted to also ask you, how often do you have your folk to collaborate with the regular school counselors in the schools? Do they do that at all, especially when they're leaving middle school, entering high school? Do they look at the coursework that they're going to need, or how does that happen, or does that happen at all?
It does happen. It's a very good question, and the support staff we have, our career development coordinators, they are paired with their feeder middle school. So that's one of the things they are tasked with, is working between the two entities to make that a seamless transition for our middle school students to high school. A lot of times they will come and present in our middle school CTE programs. They definitely work closely with our counselors. Like you heard me say, there's lots of new programming, and if we don't constantly convey that information to our counselors, our students can't take advantage of it. That 1,000 student additional enrollment, I think that kind of proves some of our communication, just to constantly roll that out and have students take advantage of that. But I feel like they do a great job, but as we all know, in an entity this large, communication is key to everything, and we are constantly working to improve that and showcase and speak about what we do. You'll also have middle schools come over on set days to have exposure to high school opportunities. The Leader in Me, I know North Gaston and WC Friday pair together a lot. One of their clubs, I saw on their slide, Automotive Club, probably coming from North Gaston High School's automotive program.
So the recommendations for coursework would be made between the two schools.
Yes, they're going to work together with that career development coordinator support person.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Buchanan.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is Stand Up Gaston update, and this is an information item. Dr. Parker.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you about Stand Up Gaston. We're excited to continue this campaign. This is our third year of Stand Up Gaston. So just have the slide here, just reminding you that this is an opportunity for us to really encourage our students to support one another and support that positive school climate there in all of our schools. So we are continuing to partner with Golden Opportunity. Sean Golden has been just such a supporter of our program, and he also has worked with businesses in our community to get a lot of incentives for our students. So with that program, we're really focusing on goal setting, and that really gets to the whole child. So we're looking at the academic piece, what are their goals for the immediate academic year, the career piece, what are their visions for the future, where they're going to go, filtering in with the CTE courses, and then certainly their personal social. And we encourage them as part of their personal social goals is to have those positive relationships and those positive friendships and in their way they interact with others, and that would be one of their goals. And they get goal-setting cards. Those are great opportunities for them to get some incentives in the community. You can see here a little shopping spree we had. We had all of our middle and high schools represented. And Mr. Golden had worked with Dick's Sporting Good and with us to be able to provide each school a $50 gift card. So they selected a student who had set their goals, who had worked hard for the whole school year to achieve their goals, and then they got to come in and do a shopping spree and also take some pictures. And their families just really enjoyed that time to see them get honored for working hard and really going for their goals there. So we will continue that this year as well. We're also working on the partnerships with other businesses in the community to get those cards out for our programming. We will do presentations in our middle and high schools again this year in October, which is, of course, Anti-Bullying Month. So that's coming up. We also are doing some other things. World Mental Health Day is an important observation that we want to make sure that we're doing this year, and that is an opportunity for us to promote mental health for everyone. It's an opportunity to dispel myths about mental health and also to reduce stigma for anyone who might be seeking assistance with mental health. And that day is observed annually on October the 10th. And so we have some activities that we're going to do district-wide. We're working with our school counselors and other support staff to promote these activities. So building on the success of the Stop, Drop, and Read campaign that the media specialists and also the teachers do with promoting the reading skills, we're doing Stop, Drop, and Care. And so this is for 10 minutes on October the 10th. Our goal was to do this at 10:10, so really getting that 10 going, everybody thinking about that. I know that's going to be difficult because that is Parent Conference Day, so that may interrupt lunches for some of our schools. So our schools have the flexibility to implement this program at any time on that day or during that week, but we definitely want them to do that. We have prepared some lessons that we will share with the teachers because this is a school-wide activity, not just something that the school counselors are doing, and they will meet with the teachers prior to October the 10th and go over those activities. And those can include some activities such as guided breathing. They can also do some yoga activities. They can do, some art activities, just whatever is going to help them really just to stop, drop, and care for just a minute, to think about and reflect on their own mental health and how that's going to support them in their learning. We do have some other programs that we're excited to do this year that are also going to kind of support that Stand Up Gaston program that we want to do. So we're starting with the Start With Hello program. That's coming up. The week for Start With Hello is September 23rd through the 27th, so that's next week. We were just discussing this at the Elementary Counselor PLC earlier today, and we're excited about that. They've got some fun activities planned for the students. some banners where the students can just kind of introduce themselves by signing their names. They're going to learn how to say hello in some other languages. They're going to learn about both verbal and nonverbal communication. So, simple things like a fist bump or a high five, just to have some positive communication, and also to make sure that they're including everyone. We also discussed some resources, some really good books, such as The Invisible Boy and Say Something, just some books that the counselors could use in their lessons with students to think about how important it is just to include everybody and really to be welcoming to others. We also have Mix It Up Lunch. Several of our schools have done that in the past. Mix It Up Lunch is part of the Teaching Tolerance curriculum, and it's encouraging students on October 22nd to sit with somebody different at lunch. They get into some very set groups in the cafeteria, and we just want to make everybody feel welcome, and also an opportunity to get to know someone new. So that's definitely a program that can really get students kind of to put themselves out there a little bit more and to meet others and support one another. The Great Kindness Challenge, we did this in many of our schools last year. That is at the end of January, so going into the end of January, beginning of February. And there's a checklist of activities that are developmentally appropriate for each kind of level, elementary, middle, and high, and just getting them to think about what they can do to be kind to one another. I know that's a big initiative of the state superintendent this year as well, so really promoting kindness. So we are definitely supporting that, and just, again, that program last year, a lot of the simple things for the Great Kindness Challenge was just to compliment someone or to say hello to someone or, pick up a book for somebody. And it also has activities not only in the school but also in the community, so they can do things like canned food drive or something else that's going to support, like the young lady who did the book bags this year. Just what kind of projects can you do in your community that's going to help someone else? So that's really building their compassion and their kindness skills. And finally, we do have some new resources. The Cartoon Network has created a lot of good PSAs and some other curriculum activities that can be used in the elementary schools as we're going into the Bullying Awareness Month of October. So there's lots of opportunities there that they can incorporate those as they're doing guidance activities with their classes. We are excited, too. We have done mental health awareness weeks for the last several years, and we have typically done those in the spring semester. We did those leading into spring break, just as a time when students were going to be away from school and away from some of their typical support resources that we have in the schools. And we have decided this year that we'd like to do that twice during the year, so we will do that in the fall and the spring. So we'll continue with around spring break time, but also with the mini holidays, and that can be a very hard time for some people and a very sad time, and so we want to make sure that we are really supporting mental health. And this is something that we really work very hard with our Suicide Prevention Committee and these activities. And one of the things we really talked about this year is, as a theme, promoting that we want everyone to consider not only their physical health but also their mental health. So the idea that mental health is as important as physical health, that you exercise, you eat right, you do those things for your physical health. So you also want to seek help when you need it for mental health issues, but you also do want to take that time to reflect and also to show those compassion skills and be kind to one another as well. So really kind of promoting that. That's going to be our theme for those mental health awareness weeks. And that wraps it up. And I'll be happy to take any questions that you may have about these programs.
Have any questions?
I don't
Ms.
have any
Guth?
questions, but, well, I do, it is a general question. So the Mental Health Awareness Week is October 6th through 12th, and then you're going to do it again in the spring, is that right?
Those are the stand-up programs. We give the schools the choice of how they want to implement those, but we give them a time frame when we would like for all schools to do the mental health awareness weeks. So we're doing the first 2 weeks in November, kind of leading into that Thanksgiving time, and those are kind of our time frame for the fall. And then the spring, we usually do the 2 weeks leading into spring break as kind of some awareness activities. So we do some announcements just about mental health, and last year we gave cards. And in fact, our cards last year, we put quotes and also a positive coping skill. We passed those out to all students. And that activity was actually kind of borrowed and built on by the Child Community Collaborative in Gastonia. They made some nice cards that they could pass out in the community as well, because they really like that idea of a positive quote and also those positive coping skills.
Based on what I've heard you say, and what you have on your agenda for the year. It appears to me that you have a well-rounded approach to your program, and we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dr. Parker.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is the 2020 and 2021 school calendar update, and this is an action item. And Mr. Clinton.
Good evening, Chairman Moore, Vice Chair Collier, Superintendent Booker, board members. I would like to recommend the traditional calendar for the 2020-2021 school year as an action item for approval tonight. The 2020-2021 calendar was created and placed on the website for comment along with the innovative calendar back in the early winter of 2019. The traditional calendar meets the guidelines under General Statute 115C-84.2. And it also, I've got some information here as far as the calendar requirements for you. And you can see here the vacation days, minimum of 10 vacation days per year. The calendar has to have in it or include in the calendar inclement weather plan, holidays, contain holidays in accordance to the State Personnel Commission for state employees. The number of days has to equal 185 or 1,025 hours. We're using the hours, which we've used quite often. Start-stop dates are always the biggest confinement as far as this calendar, this traditional calendar, because the Monday closest to August 26th is the first official day of school, and the Friday closest to August 11th is when school must end. The staff, the teachers, 215-day calendar, and the assistants, teacher assistants, a 200-day calendar. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Those are the questions that we get all the time. Would it be smart on our part to maybe put a little legend down at the bottom that these are state requirements and have those as bullets?
We can definitely do that, because those are, of course, the traditional calendar and the innovative calendar both have been out on the website for comment since we posted, and we have had similar questions to that. And all this is in part of general statute, but yes, we could do that.
Just an idea.
Of course, in your folder there, you had the proposed 2020-2021 school calendar. It mimics this year's, the 2019-2020 calendar that we're currently in. Any questions?
Mr. Collier.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we adopt the calendar presented for the year 2020-2021.
Yes, second, Mrs. Guthrie.
And then I'll just make comments. I'm not happy with the calendar because I don't like the start date. This is something I think you probably have heard me say for 10+ years. The innovative calendar, I like it better, but I think that we're challenging the statute if we adopt that, and I don't think that's a position this board should take. And that being said, I begrudgingly will vote to adopt this calendar. And kudos to the great work of the calendar committee and your staff, because anybody who works on that committee understands their hands are tied by the requirements by the state, and especially the start and end school dates. So just my hat's off to those people, because they see very quickly how frustrating it is to try to work within those constraints.
We have a first, Mr. Collier, second, Ms. Guthrie. Any questions?
Well, I'll just reiterate again, and the constraints that you're in with, you have to have the 10 mandated days. You have to have X, Y, and Z. So there's very little latitude on our part. And, you know, to have it written just as a reminder might not be a bad idea.
Thank you.
All in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Clinton. Our next item on the agenda is beginning teacher support program plan. This is an information item. This is also Mr. Clinton.
Good evening, Chairman Moore, members of the board, Superintendent Booker. It's my pleasure to share information about the Beginning Teacher Support Program plan with you this evening. This plan is based on state board policy, TCED 016, and in our district, we implement the policy requirements through Human Resource Department support and through the Teacher Induction Program. The plan is updated when needed and brought to our board for approval and then sent on to the state. Actually, plans must be taken to our board with any changes, and usually that's yearly. But this year, no state revisions were necessary or required, and no local revisions were required. So this year, we're able to continue with the approved plan that we have in place, but we wanted to give you a brief update for information. The plan does include documented process for identifying our beginning teachers, and it has to also include the implementation of a sound induction process. We have to also have a formal process for conducting observations and evaluations that we do through NESIS. We have to have a plan for participation in the Beginning Teacher Support Program monitoring and peer review with other LEAs. We have to have a documented process in place for the storage of teacher files and also for the transfer of those files as needed when a teacher transfers to another LEA or charter school in the state. The Beginning Teacher Support Program is a 3-year induction program that is designed to help teachers become successful educators, to help them meet professional teaching standards that are dictated by the state, to impact student learning, and also to help our beginning teachers actually remain in the teaching profession. At this time, we have 116 BT1s in our district who are supported through TIPS 1 by the academic facilitators and the curriculum facilitators from the Academic Services Department. We have 130 BT2s and 128 BT3s who receive support through TIPS 2 and TIPS 3 with me, and also with input from academic services and other district staff. So I appreciate the opportunity to share these updates, and I thank you for your time this evening. Yes, sir.
If you could just give a little clarification, when you
Sure.
say a BT1, what do you mean, and then what does that mean if I'm a lateral entry? Where do I fall in that?
Sure. So a beginning teacher, a BT1, is recognized as a teacher who is a first-year teacher as deemed by the state of North Carolina. That first-year teacher is someone who probably has no experience at all in teaching, but it could be someone who taught for a portion of last year but didn't have enough time in the year to count that year as a full teaching year, so less than 120 days. So some folks, when we have our TIPS 1 meeting, you may see familiar faces at TIPS Day 1 because some of those actually started late in last school year. Lateral entry and residency licensed teachers are also, they go right along that pathway, BT1s, BT2s, BT3s, as their year in their lateral program or their residency license program. Yes, sir.
Mr. Collier?
Ms. Hull, just
Yes,
I probably should know this, but someone comes from South Carolina with 2 years' experience, their first 2 years. Do they come in as a BT3 into our state or our system?
Typically, that answer would be no, but they have to apply for a North Carolina license, and then North Carolina issues the license they deem appropriate based on the experience information they submit with that license application. Often, the state of North Carolina will issue an initial license that's good for 3 years, which makes them a BT1.
So they don't just automatically default them to a BT1?
No, sir.
Okay.
They don't automatically, well, they've got to have some experience, but it's based on what the state requires. Yes, sir.
Isn't there a law, didn't they pass something this year, or they're looking at something for that?
Reciprocity.
Yeah.
Reciprocity.
Yes. They haven't passed it.
I don't know, and I don't want to prolong the time tonight, but what you are doing with the new teachers is greatly appreciated. You mentioned maybe teachers wanting to stay in the field. We must treat them well, and we must respect them and give them time to learn the school, the culture, and basically a curriculum. So what you're doing, please continue, because we hear that they're getting the support that they need. And when we talk about the excellence in programs, they must come through our training that we provide for our teachers. So please keep that up.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Hull.
You're welcome.
Mr. Clinton? Our next item on the agenda is local assessment schedule 2019 and 2020. This is an information item. Mrs. Powers.
Good evening, Chairman Moore, Vice Chairman Collier, members of the board, and Superintendent Booker. Tonight, I will be sharing with you the local assessment calendar and the 2018-19 North Carolina Accountability Model preliminary results. The vast majority of testing that takes place in the district is required by our state, but there is a small amount of our testing that is administered as locally decided assessments. Each district is required to annually report to the State Board of Education on all local assessments and the calendar for administering these assessments. This report must be submitted to the State Board of Education by October 1st. A summary of our local assessment calendar has been provided for your information. We will continue to fully utilize the North Carolina check-ins that are made available from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, which has enabled us to eliminate additional benchmarks for reading and math for our grades 3 through 8. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Powers.
Now the accountability model.
Next item on the agenda is North Carolina Accountability Model results, and this is the information item.
Okay.
And Ms. Powers.
So next I'll be sharing our North Carolina Accountability Model preliminary results. In 2017-18, the new accountability model was voted into law. With that came some changes. Before proceeding, let's review the North Carolina Accountability Model for just a few minutes. The North Carolina Accountability Model includes school performance grades for each school and long-term goals. School performance grades are still an A through F grading model for schools based on achievement and growth measures. SPGs, which are school performance grades, are based on achievement and growth measures. The data from achievement indicators accounts for 80% of the overall grade for the school, and growth measures make up the remaining 20%. In addition to an overall school performance grade, elementary and middle schools will receive separate grades for reading and math, and all grade spans will receive school performance grades for student subgroups. The school performance grade for elementary and middle schools is made up of achievement indicators that include the following: ELA reading EOG scores, math EOG scores, our North Carolina Math 1 end of course scores, science EOG scores, and English learner progress. And growth indicators that include ELA reading EOG scores, math EOG scores, our North Carolina Math 1 EOC scores, and science EOG scores. The school performance grade for high schools is made up of achievement indicators that include the following: English 2, North Carolina Math 1, North Carolina Math 3, end of course scores, cohort graduation rate, English learner progress, biology end of course scores, ACT and ACT work keys combined, and math course rigor. Our growth indicators are English 2, North Carolina Math 1, and North Carolina Math 3 end of course scores. As you can see, our high schools do have several indicators that are included along with their proficiency on end of course assessments. These indicators being included can help our high schools increase performance grades from one to the next. So now for our preliminary results. First, we're going to take a look at our district results, beginning with growth. There are 3 designations for growth: not met, met, and exceeded for our schools. This year, we had 78% of our schools either meet or exceed their expected growth. For proficiency, we will start with our elementary and middle schools. For proficiency at the elementary and middle school levels, we have experienced an increase in math when compared to the 17-18 school year. For proficiency at the elementary and middle school levels, we did experience a slight decrease in reading when compared to the 17-18 school year. For elementary and middle school science, which is grades 5 and 8, we did have an increase when compared to the 17-18 school year. Our high school results are seen here. English 2 and biology end-of-course assessments had increases this year. As you will see, there's not a 17-18 line for Math 3. Math 3 was a new end-of-course assessment that began counting in our accountability model during the 18-19 school year. Our overall district proficiency in 2017-18 was 56%. For the 18-19 school year, our proficiency was 56.4%. One thing to consider is when we moved that 0.4 of a point, we increased 1,173 students to proficiency in 2018-19 compared to our 2017-18 school year. Historically, ACT and the ACT Work Keys Assessment has previously been two separate indicators. Beginning with the 17-18 school year, the data from these assessments is combined into one indicator to measure the percentage of high school seniors meeting college or career readiness benchmark measures. This indicator uses a combination of ACT results from our grade 11 students and Work Key results from grade 12. In 18-19, we had 59.1% of our seniors meet the college or career readiness benchmark measure using ACT or the ACT Work Keys assessments. Math course rigor measures the percentage of seniors who graduate with credit for North Carolina Math 3. Although this is another area where we have experienced a change in the rules for calculation, 100% of our high schools had 90% or more of their students graduate with a credit for North Carolina Math 3, which is very difficult to reach. And 3 schools had at least 95% of their students graduate with this credit. That's Gaston Early College, Forest View, and Highland. At all grade spans, there is an indicator that is still fairly new for us in school performance grades, which is our EL progress. This indicator is used to measure the progress of our English learners and what they're making towards attaining the English language and exiting ESL services. For 2018-19, there were 12 schools with this indicator as part of their school performance grade. For a comparison for you, in 2017-18, there were only 8 schools with this indicator as part of their school performance grade. Of these 12 schools, 4 had at least 40% of their students meet their progress goal. Next, we have cohort graduation rate. 10 years ago, our graduation rate was at 70%. Fast forward to the 2016-17 school year, we had a peak of 88.3%. The district's rate for this past year is 84.8%. There has been a change in how the state calculates cohort graduation rate that occurred during the 18-19 school year, which resulted in a lower rate for many schools and districts throughout the state. The change affects how some students can be excluded from calculations. Previously, students who were not part of the school's initial cohort were excluded from the calculations upon enrollment in the school if they were not on track for graduating within 4 years. Beginning in 2017-18, all students, regardless of their circumstances, are included in our calculations. Despite the decrease in the rate for many schools, there were 4 schools with a rate greater than 90%: Gaston Early College, Highland, Forest View, and South Point. All of the academic indicator results and the growth results combine to equal our school's school performance grades. The smaller charts at the bottom give a breakdown of our school performance grades by grade span: elementary, middle, and high. The graph at the top of the slide contains a breakdown of the number of schools that receive each letter grade. This past year, there were 6 schools that increased their letter grade from the previous year, and we have 15 schools that are currently less than 5 percentage points from moving up to the next letter grade. For the 2018-19 school year, I am very pleased to announce to you that we have no schools with a designated school performance grade of an F. Our school performance grade totals are as follows. We have 2 A's, 16 B's, 23 C's, and 14 D. The last component of the model is long-term goals. Long-term goals are required as part of our state's plan under ESSA. If you are familiar with the AYP targets that we used to have under No Child Left Behind, long-term goals look very similar. Long-term goals are established as 10-year goals for improving student performance using EOGs and EOCs, end of grade and end of course assessments, that also serve to close the achievement gap between subgroups of students. The 10-year goal is divided to equal a small improvement for the goal each year, and these are called yearly measures of interim progress. One of the major differences for the calculation of long-term goals versus a proficiency calculation used for a school performance grade is that these calculations only use achievement levels 4 and 5, which we call our college and career readiness proficiency. In our second year of measuring interim progress for long-term goals, we had 12 schools to meet more than 50% of their yearly measures of interim progress. And this concludes my presentation.
Any questions? Mr. Devon?
I don't really have a question, but I want to tell Ms. Powers what a good job you did getting that information together.
Thank you.
You did. I understood it, and I'm sure the public did too. There's a lot of information there. I want you to do one point for me. You talked about it took 1,000 students to go up 2.4. Would you just talk just 1 second of why it's like that? Because some people might be going, Louis, 1,000 kids did. Why didn't we not go further?
So in our district, we give thousands of tests among students. So our students not only take reading, math, and science, and all of those combined to make that 56.4. So when you look at those students, to determine that, I took the number of students who took the test. This doubles or triples depending on my grade level and when I take that. And then the number of 3, 4s, and 5s for that school year, which is our levels of proficiency, if you reach a level 3, 4, or 5. So to take that from 17, 18, I got a total number of students or percentage of students. Then you take that for the 18, 19 school year, and you look at the total number of tests that we gave, which increased, and the number of 3, 4s, and 5s, which increased. So to move a proficiency of 0.4, it takes hundreds, even thousands of kids to move up that level. At a school, 10 kids can move us a half a point or a point, but at a district our size, the 10th largest district, it takes thousands of students to move that forward, even just 4/10 of a point.
Thank you. I just want everybody to know that we're really doing really well. It takes a lot to move it up district-wise. But thank you. You did a great job.
Yes.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Powers.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before we do anything else, can I make one comment? I apologize to Dr. Parker and Dr. Balknight. I wanted to say how appreciative I am of our counselors, the job that they do, and the pressure that's on them to make sure that we have safe schools, that make sure our mental health is in good shape. They do a great job, and I just wanted to thank personally all of our counselors and Dr. Balknight and Dr. Partner for the good job that they do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Devon. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. There are several items on our consent agenda tonight. Please take a look at all those items listed. And I need a motion to approve those items on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Devon, Ms. Cherry. Any discussion, questions? All in favor, please raise your hand. And it's unanimous. That brings us to the time in our meeting to hear from our superintendent. Dr. Booker, do you have any comments for us?
Yes, sir. A couple of things I want to highlight that the board is aware of and make sure one upcoming event. Last Friday, we were at Gardner Park Elementary, and we want to give a great thank you to Burlington Stores in partnership with Adopt a Classroom, where they provided a $10,000 grant to Gardner Park for school supplies in each teachers' classrooms. That's a really nice gift that they did, and it was part of their celebration of their new store at Franklin Square, and we really just appreciate them taking the time to adopt that school. And this is an annual program that they have, and we look forward to their continued support of our school system. You all will recall that over the last 2 years, National Pawn has given music instruments to Pleasant Ridge and Yorkchester Middle. They will be at Hunter Huss High School at Wednesday at 1:45 to present 100 musical instruments to the band program at Hunter Huss High School, along with a $2,000 check to maintain those instruments. So that'll be a great event if you all could attend that. Also, your association, the School Boards Association, is having its annual district meeting, and that will be on September 25th. So if you could let Ms. Lowato know if you're available to attend that. The RSVPs are due this week. Final thing I would like to really say is a big thank you to 4,000 people. We have had a lot of work go on this summer. Our teachers have done enormous amounts of professional development. Our facilities crews have been out doing things. Our school nutrition fed at 90-some sites throughout the summer, all that building to opening up schools 3 weeks ago. And I was fortunate enough to be able to make it to every school that first week and walked into classrooms with already engagement going on, kids being welcomed warmly. And then, as was shared in our Leader in Me, we attended the second week of school, we attended a pep rally by the student-led, and just showed the engagement that was going on. So we are very fortunate in our community that our 19-20 school year has gotten off to a great start, and I just appreciate all that the 4,000 employees, and particularly those classroom teachers, have done to make it a great start. And so with that, I just encourage them to continue it as we look for great results again this year. But we do request a closed session for personnel and legal, sir.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session under 2 North Carolina General Statutes, the first being North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, paragraph A6 for personnel, and the second for North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 for consultation with attorney in order to consult with the board's attorney and protect the attorney-client privilege, and to receive advice with respect to the lawsuit captioned 19-CVS-319 Solomon et al. Versus Gaston County Board of Education et al. And any other legal matters.
We have first, a second, Mr. Chair. All in favor? And we are in closed session. which will be October 21st, and I believe Mr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had to share good news also. Yesterday at church, an anonymous giver gave us $5,000 for school supplies for 50 teachers in the congregation Sunday. So it's just amazing how blessed we are in this community, that people really steps up to the plate, just like Burlington Coat, that you share, and it takes all of us to really go forward. And then also I'd like to congratulate my other board member, Kevin Collier, being a grandfather yesterday, and I know that's big news for him. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. Also, we had a birthday this past Saturday, I believe. Mr. Dedman?
60.
Mr. Dedman's 50th birthday. So, yeah, and counting, and counting. And with that being said,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
all right, Mr. Dedman, second, Ms. Cherry, all in favor? And we are adjourned.